My name is Bonginkosi. I'm currently the national coordinator of the Men Engaged Network, which is an alliance of non-governmental organizations that work together with a mandate of engaging men and boys to achieve gender equality. So with this network, or in my role as the national coordinator, I'm currently training partners around in terms of using gender transformative approaches to engage men to make sure that as men, we reduce gender-based violence against women and girls. We challenge the harmful gender norms. And also, as men engage, we are working as allies of the women's rights movement. And also, we are using the intersectional feminist approach, of which, as the men engage, we are believing in feminism. So we are a network of male feminists that are working and is allies of the women's rights movement and all feminists across the globe. My role in terms of coming to this particular training, I applied for the instructors level 1 course, of which last year I did my all gender level 1, where I was equipped with a number of skills which will help in dealing with issues of gender-based violence, or one protecting him or herself from being abused. I think from the space that I'm coming from, empowerment self-defense does not only help one with physical skills, but it also helps one to be equipped with skills to deal and to address violence without even using physical skills. So in the aspect of male involvement, wherein now we are using men to have non-violent skills to resolve conflict, I think ESD comes in handy in ensuring that men are equipped to address conflict without even engaging in violence, because with ESD, we are able to speak, where now you are able to speak and to address the situation and to make the other person know how you feel about a particular situation. Of which that is a skill that is lacking with most men, because as men, we are socialized not to show our emotions. However, to show our emotions, the only emotions that we are allowed to show is anger through violence. So I think ESD is bridging a lot of gap around that aspect. And also in Eswatini, I'm also working with a number of young women who are more vulnerable around issues of rape in particular. So now when we talk about ESD, we are talking about giving them back the power and freedom to be able to know that I have everything within me to protect myself. And actually, there is no one who's supposed to live his or her daily life being afraid of being attacked. So, however, because we are living in a cruel world, that makes it hard for us to be guaranteed of that freedom, that God-given freedom that we are supposed to be celebrating. I think with that cruelty that is existing, ESD comes in handy in terms of giving us that freedom. I will make an example with where I was teaching ESD. We had a halfway house of rape survivors. I went to that halfway house to do ESD training, and the feedback that I received from those survivors, it was so heartwarming to the extent that I felt like my whole curriculum and my planning, I need to try to target other halfway houses to make sure that for the mere fact that they once experienced, they mustn't be secondary survivors as well, wherein they now experience other rape experiences. That also assisted me in terms of understanding how powerful ESD was, because when I was asking how do they feel now after participating in the ESD sessions, they told me that they feel like they've now been rejuvenated, their humanity has been restored, because now they can feel that they are not a subject of sympathy. However, they now have some level of empowerment around how they can then protect themselves. For me, empowerment means living beyond any obstructions, living a life of fulfillment. And empowerment for me means being able to do, and for me to say I'm empowered, it means on whatever aspect that I'm saying I'm empowered on, I can do that thing without relying on someone else to help me. For me, that is empowerment. And also for me, empowerment, it's a lifelong thing. It's not something that has got a time factor, of which it talks to issues of sustainability. And now, when I'm talking empowerment, that I am empowering a certain individual with a self defense, it means whatever skill that I've given to that particular some individual must not have a time factor or an expiry date. It must be a lifelong thing, and a lifelong thing that can also be passed on to other people, because an empowered person is supposed to be an empowerment to other people and to empower other people to. For me, empowerment is a long chain of people equipped with lifelong experiences. For us, for our generation, we are just a rebuild kind of, because we've already been exposed to the cruelty of the world around us. However, if we can then invest on ESD for the younger generation, even before they are even exposed to the cruelty of the world around us, I think we would have done so much, because we'll be having a fresh generation that has not been exposed, that has not been violated, which has got, we should be looking in the world in a different view. And I think that will also or not only equip them with the physical skills, which I like about ESD, the comprehensiveness of ESD, that it also allows one to be able to communicate his or her feelings to the extent that the next person, and using different levels, to the extent that the next person can understand clearly how the person feels about whatever that is being said or that is being communicated at that particular time. As I've mentioned before, I'm a trainer around on the field of gender-based violence. Actually, by August, the 1st of August this year, it will be my 10 years within this area of gender-based violence. So I've been using a number of strategies, but since I've been exposed to ESD, I've seen this unique extra tool that I can use in my area of work. Because for me, when I talk about ESD, on weekly basis, I always have trainings. So I see there is a huge demand for violence prevention strategies. So now the reason why I want to be an ESD instructor, it's on the basis that I want to mainstream ESD into my violence prevention strategy, to make sure that when I go out there and talk about how one can prevent violence, I also talk about ESD, so that those people will have comprehensive skills on dealing with, on preventing violence. And also, I'll make an example of one case, to incidents of rape that happened in one of the national university in Eswatini, where 3 university students were raped in their room at night, simply because they were not equipped with ESD skills on how to protect themselves. They found themselves vulnerable. So part of the reason why I want to come up with interventions, which I will be doing with the university students, training them on ESD and coming up with clubs within. I want to do some kind of a peer educators kind of thing, where I would do a training of trainers within the university, and those peer educators will be now responsible in replicating their ESD within the university, because so that I'm able to handle the demand that would have been created through those interactions that I would be having. And also, I'm doing a lot of violence prevention with in school kids, so across the country. So that will also be another niche which I will be using to do my ESD classes, so that this even school students, they normally have sports days. So they will use those sports days to learn the ESD, which I like. The reason why I'm also so fond with ESD is that ESD to children can look like a sport. Whilst they consider like I were doing sport, they will also be learning how to protect themselves, which is so much important. They will be able to talk and also doing it in a nice and friendly manner, and they will then be able to to learn and practice all the ESD skills. So that's why I want to be an ESD instructor, because I'm so much committed in ending violence against the vulnerable groups. And also in Africa, we are still having that high phobic behaviors that's going across the country. And also part of my work as an ESD instructor, as a national coordinator of Men Engage, we have got over 46 organizations, wherein amongst those 46 organizations, about 6 of them are from the LGBTI community. So part of my work will be to do it for those members of the Men Engage network, which now they will be then equipped with ESD skills. Then those from the LGBT community will be mandated to to replicate these trainings for their communities, so that they are also able to protect themselves from any violations, which then hinders them from the enjoyment of their human rights. Just because someone will decide to do whatever he or she wants to do to them, simply because they feel like they are deviant from what they know to be. So I think ESD will be very crucial in ensuring that they are able to protect themselves from such people who are all out to violate them. I think ESD can be a best tool to ensure that we have safe communities for all. Currently, if you were to go out at night, it's a matter for now, it's a kind of survival of the fittest situation. Not everyone can go out. Even if you need something, you can't go to the shop at night, on the basis that you are afraid of being attacked. So now when we talk EST, we are talking about freedom of accessing services that are afforded to you without any fear. For me, when we talk about ESD, we are talking about communities where dignity of all citizens has been restored, not on the basis that you are you are receiving favor from someone. However, you are attaining freedom on the basis of the power that is within you. So I think that is what I take in terms of how ESD is so much crucial, even in terms of ensuring that we have safe communities. We have safe, because from safe communities to goes to safe cities. From safe cities, it will take it to regions, and before we know it, the entire country would be a safe space for everyone. So I think I like the incremental side of things. And also, I think for me, ESD will be crucial even in terms of policy, in terms of how it can be crucial in informing policy, to say we need policies that will ensure that people are safe. And through ESD, it could be a better model to show how ESD can contribute to that extent. And also, there is so much bullying in schools that is happening to the extent that you find that some other kids they end up killing themselves. So now, if we have ESD and they are empowered and they know those who are bullying others, they even know that will be best ability of that particular student by ensuring that we penetrate every education, every school with ESD. That will make it possible for every student to enjoy school life without any experience of bullying. This will be one of the biggest ESD sessions, of which were over, because I know that I'll be joining hundreds of other participants. And also for the fact that this is a global event wherein it will be attended by people from across the world and across cultures. And also this will be professionals who have already been working in the violence prevention space. So I think my most takeaway is joining this bigger community of ESD instructors from across the globe for information sharing, for skills sharing as well, and also impacting and bringing this one big community in terms of how ESD, the one ESD can be implemented in different spaces across the globe, and how it's being implemented and how it can be customized for different cultures, Africa, for all the continents across the globe. That would be the most important and the most crucial takeaway for me. My expectations will be that we reach to the extent on how we do joint resource mobilization to ensure that we come up with strong ESD interventions in our cross-regional, different regions across the globe, and also to demonstrate, to come up with an ESD model, how ESD can be effectively implemented in Africa and how ESD can be effectively implemented in the Latin America and all the other within the MENA region and also Asia. So coming up with clear model on how ESD is effective, and so that can only be made possible through joint resource mobilization and ensure that and showcase that ESD is the way to life in protecting and preserving one's dignity without relying on others. I'm a firm believer of creating lasting relations with like-minded people. So for me, networking will be the best opportunity because outside being a national coordinator for the Men Engaged Network and also, and now I'm adding being an ESD, I'm also a philanthropist whereby I'm also involved in terms of helping needy students in some of the schools when I identify different kids who are needy. And then I try to mobilize within my connections to make sure that I meet the needs of those students, more especially in rural communities. So now when I get to meet people, I also look towards in terms of how different to gathering different skills from other people working within the same space on how they implement, they support the needs of their communities using different strategies. So for me, that will also be the most important thing for me to make sure that at times it gets hard to say to someone, you can use this skill when that person is hungry. At times it will be hard for others to then get to the extent that they accept how their skills can help them if ever we don't meet the immediate needs that they are having at that particular time. So for me, that's why then I now looking and I'm eager for this comprehensive side service provision to the people so that they reach to the extent that they know that they are enough. At times, empowering people and also encouraging people in a needy family or in a disadvantaged family. However, it's just a situation which they need to live out of it. If ever they don't make the right decisions, they will keep on rounding up around in the cycle of that poverty. However, with the right skills, with the right determination, they can break the cycle and be the ground setters for their own families. And bringing that hope to them includes meeting some of their immediate needs, whilst they are also working around and getting their footing to help themselves out of the situation. Because, it's not about giving an aid to people that will help them, but it's about helping them bring that aid for themselves, coming up with that aid. So that's what I'm more passionate about, and also making sure that we have a healthy society for everyone. Because if ever the needs of the people are met, even the criminal activities, they will be reduced as well. Because some of the criminal activities that we are faced with, they are on the basis of the needs of the people that are not being met. It is a humanity culture or background that our cultures are almost similar. It just depends on the skin color of who's executing it, but we are from the same color. And also in terms of the strategies, what works on one community, you find that you just need to change it a bit. And also the fact that in the spaces around issues of violence prevention, there are rare spaces where we will find men who are genuinely coming to the space to say, I fully understand the privilege that as men we've been afforded to by socialization, and I'm willing to lay down my privileges and say, it is plenty. Women are also human beings too, and they need to be treated with dignity. And also, as a man, I'm also willing to be accountable to women. And because over the years, through the introduction of male involvement interventions, there has been a shift even in the funding space, wherein now more funders, they are leaning toward funding men involvement activities more than other activities that are targeting women and girls. And also even the approach now that is coming of men's rights approach, which is something that is wrong. When now we are entering into a space where even you as a man say, I'm willing to be an ally of the feminist movement and also to work hand in hand, and more so because the feminist movements are the torchbearers of violence prevention across the globe. So then I cannot come with my short-term experience to say, I know what is to be done if ever we've got people who've been there for over 100 years. They've been on the field for 100 years. So I need to be accountable. I need to learn from the torchbearers. So that's the most important for me, to learn more on how violence can be prevented, and also how feminists looks at it, and also to look at the lens of how women see a violence-free society and how they feel they can thrive. And also that I would love to be part of the equation or the puzzle that has made it possible for women to thrive in terms of a violence-free society. I noted that more especially with men in leadership positions in your traditional sectors, your religious sectors, when women come to train on them, even if you come with the same information, they are more likely not to listen to the women. So I then now use my privilege that they can listen to me, and then to give the same information that women were going to give. And once they are transformed, then women will then be able to transform to the extent that So that is also one of the plus of my privilege of being a man and having a transformed man, so laying down the privilege and also using the privilege to advance the struggle of ending violence against women and girls. After experiencing the summer camp, I will come back and come up with a clear plan in terms of how I will be rolling it out, which will be the beginning would be marked by having different meetings with different officials. My target will be universities as well as the Ministry of Education to engage to maybe start with a certain number of schools because I wouldn't love to stretch myself all over the country, just to set a model so that they can see and also to come up with a training of trainers who will then now be helping in terms of rolling out the ESD sessions with their students. And also, it will be to do a training of trainers for the partners within the men engaged space. And also, I would like to this to only end in Swaziland. And also, I'd love to infiltrate the ESD component throughout the Men Engage Africa network because Men Engage Swatini is a member of Men Engage Africa and the Men Engage Africa is a member of Men Engage Global. So I'm looking towards an extent where now this will be escalated up to the extent wherein there will be partnership that will be created with ESD Global, with the Men Engage Global Alliance, of which part of our principles as Men Engage Alliance is committed to being accountable to the feminist or women's rights groups, even through joint resource mobilization, where it is easier for us as Men Engaged to mobilize resources. I'd love to see those resources being shared with the feminist space, which is living with the ESD, so that more sessions and more trainings like the ones that I've benefited, they receive more funding so that more people across the globe, they are able to participate within the ESD because ESD is an essential for everyone that is living on this earth, more especially because violence is everywhere. I know how it can be frustrating to try to do something and without getting the necessary support from the people who are supposed to make it workable for you. So I always try to return the favor based on what I've been receiving from other people and also to try to make it easier so that I'm able to talk to other people to make it easier for me. I cannot ask other people to make it easier for me if I'm not making it easier for other people that want to work with me.